Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen. This is a brand new video about what would happen if the Jurassic World dinosaurs, the main big bad theropods like the T-Rex, Spinosaurus, Indominus Rex, and other theropods in general were on Skull Island, the Monsterverse Skull Island, and how they would survive. Or really even if they would survive. So to start this off, we are talking about the Monsterverse Skull Island here, not the Peter Jackson's one. I'm pretty sure multiple people have done that video already, but I'll be willing to talk about the Peter Jackson King Kong Skull Island if this video does well. But what mainly spawned this idea was I seen Goji Center talking about this subject, and honestly I didn't think it was as fleshed out as it should have been. And I'll get into that in later down the line of the video. But I wanted to dive more in depth on what I think what would happen if you were to put a T-Rex, Spino, or anything else from Jurassic World or Jurassic Park series onto Skull Island and see how they would fare on that island. So I do have a list of all the monsters that have been seen on Skull Island, including the brand new Skull Island anime, as well as a list of dinosaurs that I want to go through. Starting off with the T-Rex, the Tyrannosaurus, main big bad. Rexy, this goes for like Rexy, Buck T-Rex, Buck and Doe. I will be including all of these guys in this discussion. So to start off, let's say that these dinosaurs were born on Skull Island, not just dropped there in the middle. They had to grow up on Skull Island. They had to learn the ins and outs. They just dropped a little population of all 7 T-Rexes on Skull Island, and they grew up there. That way they can learn new stuff rather than just being, dropped into a foreign place after being a full-grown adult. That's not really fair. You get me? So with that being said, how do I think the T-Rex would fare? Well, there's many different problems that they would have, such as finding safe water, finding safe shelter, and finding food. Those are the 3 main aspects that every animal needs to survive. Now, Tyrannosaurus is actually very intelligent, even in the series. With its movement being dependent on motion, it would have a very difficult time trying to survive. You have things like the Meyer squid, siren draws that are in the water and will obviously be able to easily ambush these Tyrannosaurs if they tried to drink in water. So a couple of them may even die right off the bat for even being babies, and just for trying to drink water. But let's say they knew that the water wasn't safe. Let's say if they found a safe pond of water that they can grow up in, they can drink from, and smaller animals that they can feast off of, such as the little cyclovultures that fly around, even though they would be a pain to get into. In the early stages of their life, the biggest problem would probably be the death jackals and a lot of the bigger cyclovultures, and obviously the skull crawlers. There are many bugs, giant bugs, such as the giant crystal bugs, the spore mantis, the giant centipede that we see all in the Skull Island anime, as well as the vine snakes. That would be a threat to the younger generation of the Tyrannosaurus. But I do feel like the Tyrannosaur would be able to survive by outsmarting them and learning the ins and outs, of course. Again, the biggest problem is their vision is based on movement, and a lot of these things blend in very well with the background of Skull Island, such as vine snakes. And at a younger age, the vine snakes could very well kill a younger T-Rex. But luckily for them, since they're Jurassic World or Jurassic Park dinosaurs, they grow relatively fast. So after growing relatively fast, some of these animals may not even be a threat to them, such as the vine snakes or the death jackals anymore. But it doesn't really stop there. Let's consider the fact that they make it to adulthood. They will more than likely start mating very soon to get their population growing, and will have to start hunting in packs to survive, because you have other giant monsters that are way too big for them to take on, such as the Siren Jaw and Mire Squid. As I said, there are, of course, mother long legs, which would be very detrimental to their population, given how big they can grow. They can grow over to 100 feet long, even give Kong somewhat of a struggle. But they can definitely grow past 100 feet long, and they will blend in very well with the trees. Now, T-Rex wouldn't really have a very good reason to go into a bamboo forest, especially if they learn from a young age that that's not safe. So those could probably be easily avoided, but they do leave the bamboo forest to go attack the Iwis during the birth of Kong. So it's more than likely that if a big ass mother long legs seen a couple of stranding T-Rexes, she would leave it alone, given that she wouldn't want to risk that. But if a group of them were to see it, they would definitely be able to take that group of Tyrannosaurs. Now, they are very good problem solvers, and maybe they could beat one singular mother long legs that decided to get ballsy and attack them by chomping at their legs and things like that. But given that they like to travel in packs, given that the mother long legs like to travel in packs, I don't see it ending well for them. There's also the fact that we have, skull crawlers. Skull crawlers pretty much eat anything, and they are relentless. There used to be dinosaurs on Skull Island, even in this iteration, that were a lot bigger than our Jurassic Park friends here, like Rexy and Buck and Doe. The skull crawlers would be more than enough of a formidable foe to take out the Tyrannosaurs. And that's not even talking about, the giant croc that's seen in Skull Island. I'm not sure how big that is, but it should be enough to even threaten the smaller Tyrannosaurs, as well as, the giant ants that like to swarm people. Ants never travel alone for good reasons. While they are smaller and can literally be stomped on by a Tyrannosaurus, I'm pretty sure if you've seen a nature documentary, a bunch of ants can swarm a giant lizard and pick it apart relatively easily. There are also giant crystal bugs, which are bulletproof, and I doubt that a Tyrannosaurus bite would be able to get through that. So all in all, I don't think that the Tyrannosaurs would be a very dominant species, but they are capable of surviving. If they were to avoid all of the harder areas, if they were to band together, because they are very good problem solvers, they could learn how to live on Skull Island and not be completely screwed over. Their population probably would be very, very, very low, and they probably would be more willing to run away and learn new skills to survive, such as blending in and hiding and things like that. Wouldn't necessarily be the dominant, unstoppable force you see in the actual movies. But I do think they have a possibility of thriving. So with that being said, let's move over to the big bad Spinosaurus. Now, the Spinosaurus is a different case. It actually needs water, more than likely, to survive. We've seen in Camp Cretaceous that it can survive in multiple different biomes, even though it won't be comfortable. So, but it more than likely would, I'm going to give the same benefit of the doubt, where you drop them off, a couple of Spinos in as their babies. Immediately they're gonna go to the water. That's inevitable, and they're gonna learn pretty quick, if they're not all wiped out by a Siren Jaw or the Mire Squid or the giant alligator that we see in episode 1 of Skull Island, or is it episode 2? I'm not sure. They're gonna learn very quick that the water is not a safe place to go. So they're gonna have to learn to adapt to, living in land, or just not getting in the water as often. Now, here's where I think that Goji Center really kind of dropped the ball. I wanted to mention this before, that he didn't really go that far in depth when it came to the Spinosaurus, because Goji Center really only mentioned like the water creatures and not the dozens of land creatures that would also be threatening to the Spinosaurus and their population. So with that being said, yes, Spino can survive on land, and he was more of a dominant species on Isla Sorna for the T-Rex. But these monsters are way more dangerous than that. Starting off with, of course, the skull crawler, which can grow up to 100, overpass 100 feet. With that, so like, I get there's big controversy on how big the Spino can grow and things like that, but reality is, even if it did grow up to 60 or so feet, it wouldn't really be able to do much against something like a skull crawler or a group of skull crawlers that see Spino as a snack. Maybe two of them can handle their own, but ultimately they will be forced into the same predicament that the Rex was forced into. Things like the siren jaw, mire squid, a bunch of ants, mother long legs, the giant bird that feeds Kong. That's another thing I wanted to mention. There is the giant bird that abducts other creatures, and I believe that thing is pretty fucking huge. Would more than likely see a Spino, snag it up, and fly it over to Kong, and Kong can have a little late night snack. And there's also these giant chameleons that roam around. Chameleons that roll around, and on Skull Island, we see Kong face against them. Those chameleons are actually strong enough to give even Kong a fight. I don't think that the Spinosaurus or any other dinosaur will be able to give those giant chameleons or the bigger skull crawlers or just the bigger animals in general a fight whatsoever. Like the siren jaw, you get what I'm saying. The smaller things like death jackals even would be a threat if they travel in packs, but they more than likely wouldn't try to brave fighting a bigger dinosaur like the Spinosaurus or the T-Rex. They probably wouldn't want to risk that if they were smart. But things like ants and the psychovultures that shoot out lightning, they wouldn't be too much of a threat so long as the Spinos stay away from it. But things like the mire squid would definitely take into eating a lot of the Spinos because, well, they would have to go near water as much as possible. Even at their full grown adult stages, the Spinos wouldn't be able to do much. They would still have to rely on what's it called? What's the word I'm thinking about? The same strategy that the T-Rexes had, where they have to scavenge. They won't be a dominant force. They won't be this unstoppable killing machine that they were in, Jurassic Park 3 or Camp Cretaceous. They would be more than likely scavengers and would have to survive on the edges of the island and kind of reproduce as fast as possible because a lot of them will be dying out, probably quicker than the T-Rexes due to their need to swim. So with that being said, I will move on to the Giganotosaurus. Now, the Giganotosaurus is literally in the same boat as the Tyrannosaurus. Just about as intelligent. Their eyesight is based on movement. He's slightly bigger and he's stronger than the Tyrannosaurus, as was shown multiple times in Jurassic World Dominion. But again, wouldn't be able to fare very well against something like a skull crawler that's having a bad day and really wants something to eat, or the giant chameleons that are just ravaging the forest. And another thing I had never mentioned before, and I'm not sure why I didn't mention this before, but the sker buffalo, what would they be eating? So really they would be forced into scavenging the sker buffalo, and even the sker buffalo are so massive and dangerous that even taking on one of them would be a hassle. It's pretty much similar to taking on a theropod. They would have to take them on in a pack. And even if they get lucky without their food getting stolen by like one of the giant chameleons or the death jackals or any of the giant crocodiles that are there, they would probably risk losing some members trying to take down a sker buffalo, as well as the fact that they could just like be scavengers and like Jack Horner would have a field day with this, but Giganotosaurus, Spinosaurus, and the Tyrannosaurus will all likely be scavengers once they get to Skull Island, due to not having as many things that they can kill one-on-one, or can barely kill as in packs. I don't think really Spinosaurus really hunt in packs. I know Giganotosaurus do and Tyrannosaurus do. I'm pretty sure Spinos are smart enough to adapt to that. Sorry, my cat is... Why are you causing problems? Move. I'm pretty sure they're smart enough to adapt to that, but even then, they could result into picking off smaller animals like the night guys, the death jackals, and maybe giant centipedes. I think they're big enough to take the giant centipedes as well. And then scavenging whatever skull buffalo gets left behind from the skull crawlers or the chameleons or any other giant animal. Another big factor is Kong himself. Kong will actually eat a lot of these dinosaurs. T-Rex, Spinosaurus, and the Giganotosaurus are susceptible to being eaten by Kong. We've seen it multiple times. He has a big appetite. He will eat these smaller dinosaurs if he sees them and he's hungry as like a little snack. Speaking of snack, I'm getting kind of hungry myself thinking about that. But yeah, everything on Skull Island is bloodthirsty and hungry as hell, and so is Kong and his bird. As well as the fact that if any of these Giga would they would more likely hunt in packs. But let's say they try to find a safe place away from a regular area, they could very well go to near the Iwi tribes, but that's also a problem because majority of these dinosaurs would not be friendly with these Iwi. Okay? And we already seen how that ends up. Kong will come in and kill whatever is threatening the Iwi tribes. We know that for a fact. That's always been a thing. So being near the Iwi tribes for safety is out of the question. So the Giga is pretty much in the same boat as the Tyrannosaurus. They would really have to just sit on scavenging with low numbers and breeding as quick as possible to adapt and survive on Skull Island. Now for the bread and butter, the hybrids. We'll start off with the Indominus Rex. Now Indominus Rex was pretty lowballed in Goji Center's video, to be honest, because Indominus Rex is the smartest dinosaur in the series because it has a velociraptor brain. Now Goji Center's defense was his ego would be too big and she would immediately get herself killed. And honestly, I'm gonna have to call cap on that because he didn't really give the same benefit to the Indominus Rex that he gave to the other dinosaurs. And what I mean by that is he kind of just plucked the Indominus Rex straight out of Jurassic World and then dropped it in Skull Island rather than just saying, what scenario would it have been like if Indominus Rex grew up in Skull Island. Indominus Rex was a psychopath because she was locked in captivity for so long. This Indominus Rex, if she were born on Skull Island, let's say with her sibling or whatever, they wouldn't have anything but each other. They both would learn very quickly that they need each other. Seeing everything that's on Skull Island, I feel like Indominus Rex would definitely have the best chance at thriving because we've seen what Indominus Rex can do. They can take down bigger dinosaurs. A single one can take down a herd of theropods. So taking down a bunch of skull buffalo shouldn't be a problem, especially if there's two of them. Let's say they resort to inbreeding and start breeding very quickly as well. They would be able to spread through the island relatively quickly and learn to avoid things such as, certain waters, certain animals. They'll be teaming up together to take down larger threats like maybe even the skull crawler, as long as it's not like ridiculously huge. I doubt they will be able to take out like the siren jaw or Meyer squid, obviously not, but they'll pretty much be like velociraptors were on Eosaurina. They would form very large packs because they literally are just giant velociraptors. They will form very large packs and just kind of take over. They'll be very dominant species, I feel like. The only problem would be Kong specifically, because Kong does not like a bunch of things throwing his island out of whack. Now, I wouldn't say that the Indominus Rex would throw the island out of whack. They would be relatively tame. They can be killed a lot, and their numbers would be probably low, but they would definitely have the highest chance of surviving compared to the Spinosaurus, the Tyrannosaurus, or the Giganotosaurus so far. Their pack mentality is definitely a big savior for them, and their intelligence. They'll be quick to adapt to their surrounding area. Things like the Icarus tiger will probably be their main problem. and like the chameleons as well. Anything that's really bloodthirsty and trying to hunt would probably be their main problem, because they would get swatted by them relatively quickly. And even a pack of them shouldn't be able to take down something like a giant skull crawler or one of those big chameleons or the Icarus tiger, due to how large it is. And even then, they would risk losing some of their pack mates, and that's not really worth it. So yes, I do feel like Goju Center kind of missed the ball with that one. Indominus Rex definitely does have the biggest chance of surviving than any other dinosaur that I've mentioned so far. But with that also being said, let's move on to the Indoraptor. Indoraptor, this section is going to be pretty short because it's literally just the same as the Indominus Rex. While he may not have camouflage or anything like that, he still is highly intelligent, and obviously there's not going to be any laser beams to distract him or anything like that. He more than likely will just survive just as well as the Indominus Rex. Maybe not as well due to being smaller, but they will form packs as well and be able to thrive and scavenge just like the Indominus Rex will be doing. Again, not as powerful, so probably less numbers, because they won't be able to defend themselves as much as the Indominus Rex could due to their smaller size. But also that smaller size also helps them due to the fact that they can run faster, hide better, things of that nature. So with this final section of the video, we'll be moving into the Scorpius Rex. Now, every dinosaur has been capable of somewhat surviving and treading the island of Skull Island. And I think I almost said Indominus Rex. I think the Scorpius Rex kind of has the lowest potential of surviving, and I will get into why. Number one, Scorpius Rex is ADHD written all over. Flames and things like that easily distract, the Scorpius Rex. And it's not as intelligent as its, follow-ups like the Indominus Rex or Indoraptor. So I feel like it will very much struggle trying to survive. And I know it does have poison that can even take out sauropods, which is very impressive. But that's its main defense. That's pretty much its only defense. And even if that was the case, I'm pretty sure a lot of these animals that are bigger than sauropods, like the skull crawlers and the chameleons and the siren jaw, they probably wouldn't be very susceptible to that poison, especially since the barbs won't be able to pierce their skin. We've seen before that the skull crawler, even the baby ones, are capable of resisting 50 caliber bullets. I don't think that the barbs on the Scorpius Rex will be able to pierce that. And what's to say that it will be able to pierce any other creature that's made of stone or anything like that? So maybe it can kill things like the spore mantis and maybe like some of the crocodiles on the giant crocodile, and obviously the death jackals, as well as the the skirt buffalo. But I don't think that Scorpius would survive very long due to it being stupid. It's not very smart at all. I get that kids have heavy plot armor, but it not being able to catch a couple of kids and going on a slaughtering spree, killing everything on the island, is a big no-no for Kong, because the only things that use fire on the island are the iwi. Iwi use fire all the time. So fire equals Scorpius Rex showing up to that area, right? And obviously, if the Scorpius Rex is going to be attacking the iwi, he's gonna get shit stomped. They're gonna get shit stomped by Kong relatively easily, if they're not killed by everything else on the island first. Again, they're not very good problem solvers. They're not very smart, and they have ADHD. Literally everything is working against them, just besides the fact that they're poisonous and they can jump up very high. But even then, the trees are not safe due to the fact that there are giant spiders up there that like to eat, things that like to jump. So honestly, on this list, I believe that Scorpius Rex would not survive Skull Island whatsoever. Definitely has the lowest chance of surviving out of all these dinosaurs, shockingly. But to sum this all up, I believe every dinosaur does have a shot at surviving. T-Rex, Spinosaurus, and Giganotosaurus are a big maybe if they're smart with it and can, scavenge and, work in packs. This all comes down to working in packs and how well they can scavenge and learn and adapt to their environment. Because they can avoid the bigger monsters and not die and breed a lot quicker than, everything else around them. And I definitely agree that the Indominus Rex would have the highest chance of surviving due to her intelligence, her camouflage, and that's mainly it. They would be like velociraptors on Isla Sorna, where they're so heavily populated and intelligent. They coordinate so well together that they would be able to thrive pretty well on Skull Island. The same thing for the Indoraptor. And Scorpius, yeah, you drew the short stick, buddy. You're just a big dumb animal. I could go more in depth about other dinosaurs such as the Allosaurus and Carnotaurus, things like that. But the answer would pretty much be the same for all of them. It all depends on their adaptability and how well they can handle the change and stay away from the other bigger predators that can eat them whole. But with that being said, please let me know what you think. Feel free to disagree if you believe that Indominus would get completely shit stomped or Scorpius would be able to survive the longest. Feel free to disagree and let me know in the comment section. I mainly just wanted to make this video for a fun little discussion. I'm open to all other opinions that may or may not disagree, and let me know if you would like to see more of this. Thank you for watching my video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and have a nice day.